because they want to live in it.
But like most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. We call them poor. Okay? Right? Like, the point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura. Forever.
Right, I mean, right, but I mean, we can all look Bitcoin sort of as...
Forever, Laura. People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. 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 Okay.
You've said that you didn't buy the Bitcoin to sell it, but would MicroStrategy ever take some off the table when you sense the market is at a top and then just buy in later when there's another correction? Or do you just plan to hodl through all the 80% downturns?
Yeah, again, I just disagree with your characterization. I don't expect an 80% downturn. I don't think it's a speculative asset. I don't think you can't, quote unquote, take money off the table. The point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura. Forever, Laura. Forever, Laura. Forever, Laura. Forever, Laura.
Forever, Laura, it is going up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Daily Stack. We call it the Friday Stack, our favorite day of the week, because we have the most fun. We're bringing you the most fun show in Bitcoin today. We've got Hector. We've got Avi. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing good. We didn't want to talk at the same time here. Hector, how you doing, man?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a fantastic Friday. Number is going up. Every dollar you spend on Bitcoin right now is getting you more sats than it did last week. So get on the sale before it ends.
Love it.
Avi, how are you?
Doing good. Doing good. It's yeah, the markets have been interesting. We got some big news to talk about today. Obviously, we've been talking about this the past few weeks with Polymarket, just looking at Kevin Warsh and Hassett and all the different tops and turns here. But we finally have an answer. And so I'm excited to talk about that today. I have a slightly different opinion, I think, than you do. So it should be kind of fun to see where this ends up.
Beautiful. Yes, this is a question that has been over the minds of many in the markets for at least 6 months now. Who will be the next Fed chair? Of course, Jerome Powell is slotted to step down from his seat come May, and Trump has his pick of who he wants to be next. Will this guy be good for Bitcoin, bad for Bitcoin, a super bull, a dove, or a hawk? And harsh on interest rates. We will cover that in just a little bit. But before we get into the news today and later our most fun segment of the week of Mount Rushmore, we got to talk to Hector. Hector, please tell everybody, the audience, everybody here watching, who you are, what do you do in Bitcoin, and why do you love Bitcoin so much?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate being here. Thanks for inviting me on. So I'm Hector Alvero, and I'm the COO at Rhino Bitcoin. We are a Bitcoin exchange. And we let people do whatever they want with their Bitcoin. So buy and sell, spend it, save it, get custody solutions, soon borrow against it, save it in their IRA accounts. So we want to give people the opportunity to have one place they can go and do whatever they need to do with their Bitcoin. I've been in Bitcoin for about 10 years, and then in the space for about half that time. I'm an educator by training, and I just love to help people improve their lives with Bitcoin. So that's sort of my story.
That's what's up. Yeah, 10 years in Bitcoin, 5 years working in it. Great educator. You put out some awesome videos on a weekly basis, breaking down some of the biggest news headlines in Bitcoin and telling people why self-custody, self-sovereignty, financial freedom are the most important things in this space. Great to have you on. And if people haven't put it together already, Rhino is one of our friends of the program. They help make sure to make this show possible, and we are very grateful to have them on board here. And so as we dive in today, let's discuss our topics here. We've got Kevin Warsh. He is going to be the next Fed chair, or at least that's what Trump wants. And the question is, would he be pro-Bitcoin or not? Let's get our first takes from our panel here. Hector, what is your first read on Kevin Warsh and if he will be a Bitcoin bull?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Everybody was really excited the last time around when Jerome Powell got nominated, right? Because he had some positive history, but that didn't work out quite in the way that everybody maybe expected. So who knows? I think that it's very unlikely that the president, who really wants certain things to happen in the economy that likely would be beneficial to Bitcoin, they would be pro liquidity, they would likely be catalysts for price to increase. I doubt he would nominate somebody who's not going to be on board with the agenda that he wants to put forward. So I would imagine it should be positive, but I think we're just going to have to wait and see. Actions speak louder than words. And when we start to see his proof of work, when he actually gets into the seat, if he gets into the seat, that's when I think the tale will be told.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because for a while we were looking at it, and Hassett was definitely like very pro Bitcoin, but the consensus was that he wasn't able to delineate essentially between the White House and being a puppet basically for Trump, and so I think they didn't think that he would maybe get pushed through, or I don't know if the situation was that, but it is interesting. The recent quote I pulled is, "If you're under 40, Bitcoin is your new gold." So that was from Warsh. However, I wonder if he's like, putting on this front, like you were saying, Hector, where he ultimately, unleashes the tiger. People think that's really interesting. But the one fear I have when I was doing research on him, he was very pro CBDC. So hopefully they're not putting that peripheral cage around the tiger and ultimately trapping us here with CBDCs. But it will be interesting. I'm prayerful that he is pro Bitcoin. He's had a lot of quotes, but he, ultimately very much a Wall Street exec, and Wall Street execs don't like to give up their money unless they're in control, which they're taking a back seat to Saylor right now, in terms of holding on to that. So we'll see. I have a slightly, I'm a little concerned, to be candid.
Yeah, I think that we should pump our brakes. He's definitely an insider. He's part of the club, right? He's married to the daughter of the Estee Lauder fortune billionaire, right? Close friend of Trump, the guy who told Trump that Greenland is of the utmost importance and we need to go after it. I think Rick Lauder, Ronald Lauder. And so this guy's part of the club, right? And Bitcoin definitely is here to unseat them. How they deal with it in these positions of power is interesting. We've seen Trump go from a Bitcoin hater to a Bitcoin supporter, at least, right? I mean, he's got $2 billion worth of it in his own media company. His sons run a Bitcoin mining company. So Trump is on board when it comes to Bitcoin after being debanked. That is the story that his sons say whenever they go on the news, that they realized what it is to be shut out of the modern financial system and how Bitcoin gave them a way to still transact despite of that. Well, let's take a look at some of the takes that are going on X over here, and is this a good thing or bad thing? Right now, I mean, when the immediate news came out that Warsh was in the lead, the market tanked, right? We dropped from 88,000 down to 82,000. And this is possibly the reason why, from over at Bull Theory, saying Kevin Warsh is another reason behind the market crash. Yesterday's sell-off began when the probability of Kevin Warsh becoming the next Fed chair surged sharply. This reaction was due to Kevin Warsh's policy record. Warsh is not a new name. He served on the Federal Reserve Board from 2006 to 2011 and played a role during the 2008 crisis. Since leaving the Fed, he has been one of the most vocal critics of how monetary policy has handled after that period. He was repeatedly argued that the QE inflated asset prices, increased inequality, and mainly benefited financial markets rather than the real economy. He has described QE as a reverse Robin Hood policy. He was also said that the post-2020 inflation surge was a policy mistake, not an unavoidable outcome. That tells markets he is less tolerant of prolonged, ultra-easy policy. So what do you think about that? He does seem a bit hawkish in terms of he likes interest rates higher for longer, and he was not a big fan of QE. What's your take, Hector?
Well, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Mike Tyson famously said, right? So it's great to have these excellent, sort of records in other roles that he's had. My guess is this is a very different situation than roles he's had in the past. And sometimes, your best ideas and your best plans, don't necessarily hold up when you get into the actual seat. So it'll be interesting to see how consistent he's able to stay with maybe his principles, or how much he has to accommodate the reality of the environment and the role that he's now going to be in. So my guess is he may have to compromise a little bit. Most people usually do when they step into these kind of roles, and they have a lot of stakeholders, bigger group of stakeholders present. So, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think we're seeing this, like, it's an interesting thing. I've been in Bitcoin now since 2017, but not OG, but I've seen a lot of ups and downs, obviously, and seen before the institutions all came in, right? And Bitcoin is based, right? Anyone can go and buy it. So for us to say institutions, you're not allowed to buy it, is just not something that will happen. But what I'm concerned with Warsh, he keeps referring to Bitcoin as software and not as like money or monetary, right? And so that is very telling. The fact that he says it over and over again, I'm a little concerned there. We are seeing, going back to the decoupling, we're seeing everything with the price of Bitcoin kind of reliant now on QE, and we're watching the Fed, and everything is now kind of the inverse of how Satoshi initially thought of this. But, if he's not viewing this as monetary and viewing this as software, it's good that he's aware of it and knows about it. But I am concerned with just, they always leave these little droplings of what they mean, and so I'll sleep with one eye open with Warsh. Not that I can control anything that he says here, but hawkish, while it is good for, the U.S. longevity to embrace that dollar, I feel like we're at a breaking point where we're moving towards these stable coins that, 190, or I think it's like 160 countries now are working on CBDCs. So hopefully we're not, being blinded here by the excitement, of the Trump presidency. So we'll wait and see. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, it does feel at this point in the market, we're very easy to grab onto any crumbs that we can get, right? Anything that seems remotely bullish, that we're getting more Bitcoiners in positions of power, the better it seems, but it's more of a wait and see approach. But another thing that this means, of course, that Warsh is being nominated means that Jerome Powell's tenure is about to end. I would love to get a sort of pre-postmortem on Jerome Powell from you two. Do you think that he was good, bad, the best ever, worst ever? What's your take on Powell now that we see the end of his tenure in sight? Hector?
I think, honestly, I think he actually showed a lot of resilience in the face of tremendous pressure to do things that, what many people perceive to be his boss, right? Even though that's not the case, wanted him to do. So from an integrity standpoint, even though I maybe wasn't a huge fan of all of his policies, but from an integrity standpoint, I actually got to respect the guy a bit, because he didn't just, fold like a cheap suit and just succumb to the pressure. So on that, I give him a pretty good grade. I don't think they did a great job of staying out in front of monetary policy, but I think that is a problem that is structural. In terms of the way the central bank looks at monetary policy, right? They're trying to predict the future by looking in the rearview mirror. And usually it's with incomplete, estimated, or in some cases just just not very accurate data. So I think it's a tremendously difficult job, and I think most of them fail, and that's the reason why. And so he probably did about as good a job as he could have. But when you have a system that is based on debt and based on the need to continue to increase the units of the software, back to your point, Avi, it'll be interesting to see when Harsh realizes that Bitcoin might be software, but guess what? Money is software, right? Money is just a shared ledger that that records the consensus agreement on what each person's ownership of society's value is, right? Guess what? That's software. So just because we computerize it and digitize it didn't make it any more software than it already was. So anyway, I think Powell probably did about as best as he could, which is to say, none of them can do a good job because we live in a system that requires them to do bad things.
Well put, Avi.
Yeah, I'd agree somewhat. I think I just go back to COVID with 2020. I was on a different echelon being here in New York of what we should be doing, and I thought we just didn't even open the floodgates. They completely blew them off the door, right? And so they poured tons of money. I became the best stock picker in the world. You could close your eyes and throw a dart and be up 50% in 2 weeks. And so while it was fun as a stock trader and getting in, and Bitcoin grew astronomically with him, I just think it keeps playing back in my mind is inflation is transitory. That whole quote threw me off. And they're supposed to be decoupled from the Fed, the Fed and the president. But as we've seen, even with Biden and Trump the first time too, there's little whispers in the ear that can make him look bad or change their legacy, right? If you got Trump talking smack all the time. But overall, yeah, I mean, we were able to get out of the COVID. I mean, we created the mess, and then we were able to get out of the mess somewhat. But we still have that multi-trillion, not to plant a quick seed for what we'll be talking about later, but looking at that debt clock just continuing to climb is a bit scary. So conflicting.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, he's put in a very difficult position, right? I mean, few jobs matter more in terms of each word that you say on those monthly meetings. Markets can trillions of dollars are made and lost on whether he says good afternoon, right? So it's a very stressful job. There's no doubt about that. And then he's had Trump breathing down his neck for the last year. Bitcoiners, of course, hate the Federal Reserve and think that Jerome Powell, no matter what he did, is a bad guy. But if you look back at the track record, what he was able to do, he had to thread the needle, and I think he did, sort of, right? There was so much talk of a hard landing, when we're going to see this hard landing in 2022, 23. This recession never materialized. Now, you could say we're going through a silent depression where people are just being priced out of assets, getting on the housing ladder and all that kind of thing. But in terms of a Great Depression or financial crisis level situation, I think Jerome Powell's leadership actually helped avoid one of those situations. Does that mean we're just kicking the can down the road? Yeah, probably. But it gives you more time to have to stack Bitcoin before it goes astronomical when the world starts going crazy, right?
Exactly. That's what I was going to bring that up. Is it just feels like it's not my problem. We'll just keep kicking in the can, and then Warsh will have to figure this one out. So.
Cool. Well, at this juncture, I would like to bring up this thing right here, 21rates.com/stack. We are building a community, and part of doing that is getting everybody in one spot, a place where you can earn Bitcoin, learn Bitcoin, and be a part of the crew. So head over here, 21rates.com/stack. We've got a daily spin wheel. You hit this thing and you can win some Bitcoin on a daily basis. Come back the next day and possibly win some more. And of course, we will be giving away some Bitcoin at the end of this show. How do you get involved with that? You go to this website right here, 21rates.com/stack. Very cool. And of course, we got Rhino on the wheel with the pancakes. Are you part of the pancake crew? Can we get some pancakes in the chat? Let's get some pancakes in the chat. Throw up the pancake emoji.
We're giving away sats for pancakes. I love it.
We're giving away sats. We're giving around. You stack the sats. You stack the pancakes. It's all awesome. So happy to be here every single day, 12:30 with the crew. And so we talked about Warsh. Now I want to talk about this. Hector, you actually made a video today over on Rhino Bitcoin. And what you talked about was the son of a CEO that the US Marshals hired to custody their Bitcoin, allegedly steals millions of Bitcoin, and then posts about it on the internet. What is going on here? Give us some background. Tell us some color on the story.
Well, everybody at this point knows about the strategic Bitcoin reserve, right? And I think there's probably a perception, especially among folks who are not in our world, that is some centralized digital pile of Bitcoin that is being watched over every minute by some fierce digital chimera that can never be defeated. And the reality is that that's not the case. Our strategic Bitcoin reserve is really a disparate set of little piles of Bitcoin that sit among a whole lot of government agencies, right? The Marshal Service, the DEA, ATF, whoever it happens to be, where they have been seized in various different kinds of government activities. So because those coins are not centralized yet, and because they're not being watched over properly yet from one entity, some of those entities will outsource the security, the custody of that Bitcoin because maybe they don't have the expertise to do it. So it seems like what happened is that's what was going on with the Marshal Service and some of their Bitcoin. And the son of the CEO of the company that was supposed to watch over the Bitcoin apparently got access to the keys. I don't know, maybe maybe dad left the seed phrase underneath the keyboard, like back in the Ferris Bueller days or the War Games days. So I don't know what happened, but somehow the kid got access to the keys and started draining the Bitcoin. Now, why he did that, maybe he hasn't heard about the whole, public blockchain, transparent, everybody can see everything you do forever. Maybe he hadn't got that memo yet. So luckily they stopped it before it became too bad. But it just is emblematic of how early we are, and how, unfortunately, in the case of our nation's Bitcoin, how at risk it really is, because there is not a strategy for protecting the Bitcoin. So as much as I'd love to see a strategy for getting more Bitcoin for the country, I think that would be a good thing for us long term. I'd equally like to see a strategy for actually protecting what we have, because if we can't protect what we have, then we don't really own it anyway.
100%. Avi, do you have any comments on this story?
Well, I'm just more, he stole it and then went live to tell people he stole it. So I was thinking back to American Gangster with like Nicky Barnes, like he was out there, being flamboyant about it.
Yeah.
And the internet is forever. I've certainly said things. I look back at like my Facebook from like high school and I'm like, holy shit. Like you don't realize that the internet is forever and blockchain is going to be able to track all of this. And so pretty foolish. I don't know what is he in jail now, or they're going through, the judiciary,
Patrick Witt, who took the role of Bo Hines as the executive director of Trump's crypto council, came out and said that they're on the case. We haven't heard much more beyond that, but he did make an X post saying that they are aware of this and are investigating.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of goes along. We brought on the founder of Autopilot a while back ago, which is awesome. So if you guys are not familiar, it basically tracks, and it's so baffling to me that someone could write a bill, then go invest. And you see this happen all the time with people in Congress that go ahead and do that. And so they have this, and then this is nepotism, right? Where the child has access potentially to these private keys. You got to be careful. We're seeing it kind of across the board. Like no one is safe and no one's above the law. And so, which is a good thing, I think. You should not be able to trade stocks if you just worked on the bill, right? And so similarly here, if you're having access and you have that nepotism, you're so close to it, that should be locked up in some safe custodian a mile underground, not just on the on the lunch table for them to pick up. So pretty baffling, to say the least.
Yeah, and as you said, this was due to him going on Telegram and having to go band for band with fellow hacker cyber criminals. And it does seem as if that's a trait of these Gen Z and younger hackers. They love to not only just steal this, but then they have to show it off. It doesn't count to them unless they're able to flaunt it on the internet, especially to other criminals. They have to show other criminals that they are a greater criminal.
It makes sense though, Rob, right? I mean, if attention is your currency, well, then you only gain value by drawing more attention.
Yeah. The money means nothing unless you have somebody to be jealous of it, right? At least that's what these guys think. And yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you, you should never talk about your Bitcoin on the internet. Never talk about how much Bitcoin you got, and don't flaunt it. Don't make other people jealous, because then you're going to wind up in a situation like this where you get your spot blown up, your dad's spot blown up, and the US Marshals spot blown up. And you don't want the US Marshals coming
That's why I'm glad I don't have any Bitcoin.
None of us have Bitcoin. We just love to talk about it.
Exactly. So this happened in October, though, right? And then like when it actually was stolen. And then was there months that, why is it just coming to the news now? Because Zach posted that Twitter thread, or, you know, was this out in the news prior, or it got exposed and they're like, oh shit, we have to backtrack now and make this news?
Yeah, I mean, I think the crypto was taken previously, but the exposure didn't happen until just this last week, where they had that fight online, the ban for ban fight that got him caught. And then the kid was doing crazy things, like Zach XBT, of course, is the crypto sleuth who finds out all these cases and gets to the bottom of them. This Lick guy, John Lick, the kid who stole it, he was dusting Zach's email address with the stolen crypto. Right? Just rubbing it in his face. Just, he thinks there's going to be no repercussions for this. Crazy.
He was owning it. I guess, like they say, if you're going to be a pirate, wear the patch.
Well, let's see what the repercussions are, though. I mean,
yeah, but,
you know, he's got a dad high up, and they tend to get off pretty easy. So we shall see how this remedies.
My guess is he's not going to get 2 life sentences plus 20 years.
Right. Probably not. Maybe he's a friend of the Trumps, and Trumps will just pardon him if he.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad he's not the son of the president of Honduras.
That would help. Cool. Well, at this juncture, I would like to say, if you don't have Bitcoin yet, what are you doing? Why are you watching the show? You got to get on the Bitcoin train. And that is why we highly recommend doing it through our friends over at Rhino. Getting access to Bitcoin previously to all the different Bitcoin financial services was slow, clunky, scattered. It was just a giant headache. But Rhino is changing that. Rhino is a next generation Bitcoin banking app designed to handle all of your Bitcoin needs in one place. What can you do with Rhino? Well, of course, you can buy or sell your Bitcoin at the lowest fees anywhere. That means more sats for every dollar that you spend. Make Lightning payments. The fastest way to spend Bitcoin, of course, is with the Lightning Network. You got a Lightning wallet with Rhino. It makes instantaneous global payments easier than ever. You can also send cash globally. You got friends or family in another country. They want to receive fiat. You can send them dollars over the Bitcoin rails, and it ends up in their native currency. And of course, you can DCA, have complete control over how you buy your Bitcoin, set times, set limit orders, set percentages, and you'll be able to accrue Bitcoin on the schedule that you want to. And Rhino is just getting started. Soon you'll be able to pay bills, direct deposit, borrow against your Bitcoin, and even save for retirement, all inside one app. And of course, security is a top priority. Rhino protects your Bitcoin with biometric verification, 24/7 fraud protection, and the confidence of knowing your Bitcoin will never, ever be rehypothecated. And if you're a long-term holder, of course, you can withdraw to cold storage. And if you've got a Casa multi-sig, you can even use Rhino as one of your keys in that multi-sig. So go today, go to rhinobitcoin.com and download the app. And then once you sign up, use the code Bitcoin News, one word, Bitcoin News, and Rhino will drop you $10 in free Bitcoin straight into your account. Absolutely no questions asked. So Rhino is built to keep you in control of your Bitcoin every minute, every day. We are very thankful for them to be sponsors of the show and a part of what we are building here at the Daily Stack. Highly recommend. And if you've got any questions, hit them up on Twitter. Very friendly crew, people that we know, we trust. And we got our man Hector. He's on the show today with us to talk about it all. So now we would like to get into the second portion of the show, and that is Mount Rushmore. We are going to have a friendly competition. What is it going to look like? It's going to look like this. Let me pull it up. Bada bing. The best orange pilling tools. Hector is an educator in the Bitcoin space. He's been teaching people about Bitcoin for many years, and he has orange pilled countless amounts of people. He has articles about it in Bitcoin Magazine. He does presentations about it at conferences. And so we are going to pick his brain, and he's going to be part of this competition where we decide what are the best tools to use when trying to get people into Bitcoin. These could be books, podcasts, websites, conferences, anything in your repertoire that you have used to onboard people into Bitcoin. So we're going to kick it off. This is our snake draft, Mount Rushmore. Hector, you have the first pick. You have pick round one, pick one. What is your number one tool for orange pilling?
Well, it's complicated. Right? I'm sure you just want me to bust out there and say the Bitcoin standard or whatever it is. The reality is what's the best tool? And I'm sure we all would agree with this, right? Depends on who you're talking to, right? The best tool for, your 65-year-old, real estate investor uncle is maybe not necessarily going to be the same best tool as for your, 19-year-old, TikTok Zoomer nephew, right? So, really, when I usually talk with people about trying to figure out how to get them to take some interest in Bitcoin, is I try to find out a little bit about them, ask a few questions about their relationship with money, what kind of things they worry about, that sort of thing, and then you try to tailor what the tool is going to be that maybe best fits the situation, that just gets them to take the first step, right? Like Parker Lewis would say, right? Set the hook. Before you set the hook, you have to bait the hook, right? And like Dale Carnegie said, you got to bait the hook to suit the fish, right? So that would be really what would be, the advice would be first ask a couple of questions, figure out who you're talking to, and then try to figure out what might be the best thing, that matches up. But if I'm just taking a first pick, and you're going to say, hey, give me one thing if you had, literally nothing else to talk with people about, I would probably go with the Bitcoin standard, because it starts by teaching people about money and the problem with money. And then it transitions into how here's a solution that, can, again, probably wouldn't give it to a 12-year-old, but if I just had one thing to pick, I'd probably go with that.
Bitcoin standard cannot go wrong. It is the Quran of the Bitcoin world. If we are,
I'm not sure Saifedean would agree.
Oh man. All right. So, but yes, it is of course the standard, the Bitcoin standard, the book itself. Very few books have done more legwork for the Bitcoin community than the Bitcoin standard. Great book, classic choice. Avi, what do you think about the Bitcoin standard?
I was going to pull it up. I have my computer on top of all these books, but I have it underneath.
It's a great computer stand too.
I'll be honest, I've never read it yet. I still have it at the bottom of the list. I will read it, and then I will give you a full, honest review.
That's the best part about this show, is we get to orange pill Avi on a weekly basis and get him further and further down the rabbit hole.
I'm getting there. I did read the white paper.
You did read the white paper. Nice. Yes. So, I mean, the Bitcoin standard, I do agree that it is a magnum opus. It's one of the classics in our book library here as Bitcoiners, but it might be too dense. I'm going to have to push back and say it's not an easy read, to be completely honest. And as a Bitcoiner, and when I was going down my rabbit hole journey 6 years ago or so, hardcore, and I was consuming all these books, the Bitcoin standard, I did read it, of course, but I put it down a couple of times and read some other books in between, because it's a little dense. It takes a little bit to get to the goldness of it all. But yes, no, it's a classic pick, great pick, has to be up there. And as a first round, first pick, makes sense. Okay, I get to pick at number 2, and I agree with Hector, is that you've got to meet people where they are. You need to identify the pain points and dig in deeper there. So when it comes to that, I'm going to have to go with the website WTF Happened in 1971.
Great.
Very few websites are able to, just in charts, show you the predicament that we're in. Very few people can describe in words the predicament we feel as human beings in a world with inflationary currency. But when you see these charts laid out in front of you, you realize that, hey, something greatly changed in this country and the world back on that date over 50 years ago now, when we left the gold standard and entered into a pure fiat currency. And that is what set everything in motion for us to be here today and the need for Bitcoin to exist. So what the F happened in 1971 is a very important website, and it has a lot of great charts to make it relatable to the person. themselves.
I love that, and I just pulled it up. But I'd have to agree with you guys. I mean, anytime you're trying to sell anything to anyone, you have to understand what they care about first, right? And so it is important. For those that don't like, this is not my pick, but for those that don't like super dense books, you should buy.
Oh yeah, good book.
I buy Bitcoin. Very thorough in here. Every single page says yes. I actually met Shant Skanik at a conference, and that was pretty funny. But I'd say my real pick, similar to yours, is the U.S. National Debt Clock. So I can try to pull it up, but it's usdebtclock.org. Just visualizing where we're at, and then showing them, there's a meme out there, not meme, it's an image that shows the price of Bitcoin in houses of dollars, and then the price of Bitcoin. And you see the price of dollars going up and the price of Bitcoin going down. And so people my age, they're just getting married. They're looking for their new house. This is very relatable and real to them, that they start to realize that, hey, my breakfast used to cost $3. Now it's costing $7. Money staying in my savings account is just depleting. It's like a boat with a hole in it constantly, right? And so you can't fight the Fed, you can't fight inflation unless you buy Bitcoin, which there's 21 million versus infinity. And to me, that is one of the best. So it's a culmination of the debt clock, being able to visualize it, slowly to people and catching them where they are, right? And so trying to get them to understand in relatable terms, hey, your dollars are leaking, they're melting, and Bitcoin only has 21 million. And the reality is it's really closer to like 19 with all the lost Bitcoins and Satoshi's Bitcoin. So there's never going to be more of them. So get them while you can. And I think more and more people are starting to come to this realization. And we're going to continue, like Jack Mahler says, who little tease is one of my other picks here coming up. But he says, you're not going to be able to get out of this. Ultimately, we're going to keep printing and printing and printing. And so we'll see if Warsh changes that, but it doesn't seem like that. We got the big, beautiful bill coming up here already. They're starting to put money in. So we shall see. But again, I agree with you. Meet them where they are, simplify it, and make sure you're talking their language.
I agree with you, Avi. I look at that site every day, even though some days it moves a lot, some days it moves a little, in relative terms. But I look at it every day because I decided, every day I'm going to look at the site, and the day that the number that I see is smaller than the number from the day before, that's the day where I will at least reevaluate whether or not I should be increasing my Bitcoin position. So until that day, my goal will be to have more sats on that day than the day before, because as long as that number on that debt clock is going up, the value of those dollars is going down.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy
relative to Bitcoin.
And I live in New York, and they used to have it in
long time ago.
I think they moved it up to, I think it's on like 50th now. But I remember being young when I didn't know anything about anything, right? And I'd look up at that and I was like, what is this with debt? Like, I didn't realize that we're in such debt. So that was even like an alarm to a lot of people of just seeing that number just continuously go up, and the amount of income that people are making is not going up with that inflation. So totally agree.
Yeah.
Boom. All right. Well, Avi, you are back on the clock.
Back. All right, then I will go. I want to share a minute of my favorite video. It is Jack Mahler's in Prague, and Ale, you're taking my third pick, but appreciate seeing people in the audience engage. We are live. We are a community, and let me play this clip real quick. So before I play it, what I like about Jack is he's got the Zuckerberg thing going on where he wears a sweatshirt. I did see him in a suit once, but I think he is very relatable. He feels very real. I know some people don't like him, but I found him, really, really interesting and engaging, especially this quote that I'm about to play here in a second. He doesn't say anything about Bitcoin the first 30 seconds or so. He's like, why are we here? Right. And so it really encapsulates, it's got music. So I'll stop talking and play the clip here, but this is my favorite thing to send people.
What I want my generation to understand, and a lot of the media that's really hard on us, they say, Bitcoin's just for hedge fund bros. It's just for the youth to go get bottle service, and it's the Miami yachts. It's not. My generation is struggling. It's not an investment. It's a revolution first. You see, government debt to me is a form of time travel. If we could just print money, why is there such thing as world hunger? Why is there such thing as poverty? Why is there such thing as depression? Who's burdening the cost? But your jobs and your growth and your income is exploding. Is it though? It's the blues' fault. It's the Reds' fault. It's the left's fault. It's the right fault. It's Trump's fault. It's Biden's fault. Is it though? You're literally traveling into the future and spending my resources to go to war, to waste and spend money and grow debt.
I'll pause that here for a second, but I just love that one. I mean, I think he really does a good job. The music, whoever is his editor, did a phenomenal job of just like, it feels like a movie trailer, right? And then the rest of it is very good too. So that was in Prague. I didn't go see that in person, but I've seen Jack, multiple times now. Really nice guy too. Sean's knows him from a while back as well. So got to meet him at Bitcoin Vegas, and I think he's just a very helpful for the industry for mine.
Yeah, he is a voice of the youth. He might be over 30 now, but he doesn't look a day over 23, and I think that helps connect with the younger generation. And I mean, he's a cool guy. He wears sweatshirts. You're right. He did wear a suit in Washington, D.C., but very rarely does. But he has a way with words. There's no doubt about it. And the way he communicates Bitcoin is second to none. So great pick. Absolutely. So I will go with my second orange pilling tool. And I am going to pick Broken Money by Lynn Alden, but the half-hour animated version. That another very dense book. A great
not the War and Peace original.
Not the War and Peace original. It's a great with Broken Money. You can actually defend the $5 rental tax from getting you. But yes, the 30-minute animated version. As someone who has worked in motion design a little bit, taught myself how to use After Effects. Very, very well done video. Expertly crafted animations, and of course the source material of her book is one of the best. People sometimes put it behind the Bitcoin Standard as number 1 and number 2 as the top 2 books in the Bitcoin opus. And so we are here to say, yeah, these are the tools. These are the tools that you need to orange pill simply in a half-hour video that's captivating, engaging, and keeps the eye entertained is very important. So that's my pick at number 2.
Great pick. Lynn does an incredible job of communicating complicated ideas in a way that is really accessible, even while you recognize the depth of expertise that she brings to the topic, right? So she's a tremendous asset to the space. So is it my pick again?
Yeah, you're up, Hector.
Oh man, I love it. Well, all right. So this is what I call a cheat code, right? There are we could have 500 rounds of this draft and still be talking about incredible assets. Thank goodness that's where we are now versus many years ago. But this is what I call the cheat code, because this is a gateway that gives you access to all kinds of incredible material, most of which you might not even find on your own, or maybe not find until years later, and makes it easy to consume. And that is Bitcoin Audible. So Guy Swan, his, podcast, whether you're consuming it on video or his shorts or just his regular reads. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Bitcoin Audible, of course, Guy Swan, his podcast where he will read, articles, and now he has chats and other different kinds of versions of it. But the original, where he'll read an article and then he'll give a perspective on it. He has great takes, because of his own background and experience, not only in Bitcoin, but in sort of libertarian thought and economics and so on and so forth. So if you listen to that resource, if you listen to his podcast, you're going to get all kinds of excellent information from a broad array of areas where Bitcoin touches, whether it is macro, or whether it is Austrian economics, or whether it is energy usage, or whether it is FUD busting. And if you spend a lot of time in your car, and if you don't like to necessarily read like printed books, which, I prefer consuming things audibly, it's just an incredible resource. And I've gotten exposure to a ton of additional areas that I might not have found on my own, where, because Guy was reading it, it got me interested in things out like, the problem with the food system, how energy systems really work, whatever it happens to be. So I think Bitcoin Audible is a great resource to give to somebody, because again, if you ask them those questions and you find out, oh, they're really interested in X, well, there's probably an episode that guy has that he's reading an article that's directly related to that thing. And then you can send them that short little read, and then that gets them hooked. So Bitcoin Audible, I think, is a great resource for anybody to have in their toolkit.
What's his tagline? No man has read more things about Bitcoin than this guy.
The guy who's read more about Bitcoin than anyone you know, right? Any guy you know, he's great.
Absolutely. Avi, we need to get you on Guy Swan.
We need to get on reading first, but yeah, the Audible one did catch me. I was like, all right, I like an Audible book. We're wrapping that up, or I had one more?
No. Just right now, I would like to give a shout out to our guys over at Arch. So what is Arch? Arch is the leading destination for Bitcoin-backed loans. Arch provides you world-class security and white glove service, so you never have to sell your Bitcoin. What is going on here? I mean, if you're listening to this, you're a Bitcoiner. You've done the hard part. You've stacked the sats. You've held, even when Kevin Warsh gets nominated as Fed chair and Bitcoin drops down to 82K, you didn't panic sell. But still, life happens and you've got to pay the bills. Taxes come up, new opportunities. You want to make a down payment on a house. And when you've done all that hard work of stacking for so long, selling your Bitcoin doesn't feel good. That's where Arch comes in. Think of it like a flexible line of credit with rates starting as low as 8.5% APR. You borrow what you need, repay anytime, and only pay interest on what you use, all without triggering a tax event. The best part, your Bitcoin stays yours. Arch has a strict no rehypothecation policy, so your collateral is never lent out. It's held in a qualified, insured, bankruptcy remote custody with full transparency. Get your cash today at archlending.com. That's ARCH lending.com. Don't want to sell your Bitcoin. Using it as a way, as collateral, is a great way to unlock that liquidity. All right, I want to bring my boys back up on stage. This competition is not over. We're about to go into the second half. Hector, you are back up with...
I'm back up?
Yes, it's a snake draft.
Snake draft, dude.
I love it.
And
I love it. But we have 4 us. I got one. Okay, because I have a fun one for my last one. So, but I'm gonna go. As we try to come up with different resources and we try to figure out, hey, where are all these things? Wouldn't it be great if there was a place where there were all these different resources in all these different formats that I would be able to access in one place so that I could quickly get to them, remember where the links are, share them out. And luckily, one of the OGest of OGs in all of Bitcoin has been compiling just such a resource for the better part of a decade, maybe even longer. That is Jameson Lopp, and his resource is lop.net. You go on lop.net, you go on the Bitcoin resources area, and then you are going to see just an exhaustive list of books, videos, podcasts, technical guides, incredible array of resources. So probably all of the resources that we can think of here on this draft or anywhere else, they're probably already cataloged there on lop.net. So it is just a great archive so that you can quickly get to the things that you ultimately are going to share out to people. So I highly recommend lop.net. And if you do want to go down deeper technical dives, few people are better on security and privacy in areas like that than Jameson is himself personally. So it's just a tremendous resource for orange pillars, right? To be able to quickly get the things that they might want to then send out to folks they're trying to orange pill. So lop.net is, I think, a critical resource for orange pillars, even though I know this is the orange pilling tools draft. The orange pillars have to have resources as well.
Agreed. You need to have it all at your fingertips. And actually, lop.net lists Bitcoin news as a source of Bitcoin only.
Well, of course they do.
Thank you, Lop, for that. But yeah, very smart guy. He ruffles some feathers, but he definitely is in the camp of trying to get as many people onto the Bitcoin network as possible. And lop.net is absolutely a great place to go and do that. Okay, my turn. I want to turn Bitcoin into something theoretical, into something tangible. How do you do that? You get people involved with mining. That used to be really hard to do, but now it is easier than ever with a Bitaxe. You buy somebody a $150 piece of hardware, can sit on their desk, it whirls a fan, it makes noises, it lights up if you find a block. I mean, the chances of finding a block with a Bitaxe, I believe it's like 1 in roughly 20, 30,000 if you leave it running for a full year. Those are your odds for the full year if you leave it running continuously. But it's still an opportunity to get involved in Bitcoin and have some fun. And who doesn't like a lottery ticket, right? We are in the age of financial nihilism. Everybody's trying to come on up. And how can you do that? You can find a block on the Bitcoin network that's worth 3.125 Bitcoin, roughly $300,000. If you find a block. So this is how you get people to realize that Bitcoin is something that involves not just the internet, but tangible energy, mathematics, cryptography. All these things can just sit on your desk in the form of a Bitaxe, and it is a beautiful tool to get people interested, curious, and actually involved with the network.
Great pick.
All right. Let me pull up my screen here because my pick is going to be 21 rates. So I got the hat on here as well. But 21 rates, we're focused on the financialization of Bitcoin. So if you have Bitcoin or you're interested in Bitcoin, it's one center. We're trying to make it the homepage for Bitcoiners. So if you have Bitcoin, we talked about Arch earlier. We have all the different lenders. So you can see all the different lending rates right here as well. Different Bitcoin cards. So there's really cool cards where as you're swiping, instead of getting points, you can now earn Bitcoin. So we have all the different cards here as well. So it's a really cool place for you to come learn about it. We have a whole learning center. If you're interested in options, you want to go 101, what is Bitcoin, learning about that. All of that here is live on 21 rates. And what's cool is you can also come and see the podcast. So we have all the different podcast angles, but the majority of people say, what can you do for me? Well, we can earn you some Bitcoin. So another cool thing, we will have a lot of, oops, sorry about that. And we'll pull that up in just a second. And so if you go to your dashboard, you can come in. We'll give you 10 sats just to check in. You write reviews. So we wanted to have one place where if you go, ultimately, you trust all these lenders, you go to their website, you want to be able to actually hear from others. And there's no better place than 21 rates to hear from real people that are writing reviews. They're sharing. They have Bitcoin lending 101. So you can learn about lending. We'll pay you to actually learn, which is very cool. So we made this, me and Jody started it. We're sharing it with the Bitcoin news guys as well here because it is very cool to come one place, share it with your friends. You earn sats to share with your friends and everyone can get orange pilled over time. And so 21 rates as a Bitcoiner was something that I was looking for and finding one place to, hey, if I have Bitcoin, how can I use this to buy, borrow, and die? So that's a very famous phrase, but when you have Bitcoin, you can loan against it without actually selling your Bitcoin. And so we wanted to create that. And we've since added, we are building this for the people, by the people. And so we're very open to suggestions. So if you guys have suggestions of what to add or what to change, please tell us. We are making this in real time. And so we wanted to provide a orange pill application for the world. So I'm going to go with our own 21 rates.
It's a fantastic site. You guys are doing a terrific job, Avi. It's I visit it regularly, and I think you guys are doing a terrific job. It's a great asset, great resource for Bitcoiners everywhere.
Thank you. Oh shit, I'm back to back. All right. I kind of gave a few earlier. I would say ultimately just like the showing the picture of 21 versus infinity and using that for people to ask the why, right? So you're never going to sell anyone if they don't want to be sold to, or people feel like you're trying to sell them on something, they're not going to take place. And so the kind of looping off of the 21 rates piece is my opinion is the Bitcoiners are here, right? Like the people that were interested, that have been involved with Bitcoin, 90% of them are already here, right? The next million users that are going to come on are coming from TradFi, probably are coming from this younger generation that hasn't heard. So you got to meet them where they are, show them where it's more powerful. And I think 21 versus infinity is the simplest way to really visualize that of, hey, they're going to just keep printing, even gold too. I remember one of my favorite talks by Saylor was when he was talking about gold. He's like, you think it's pretty finite, but every single year they go and find 2% more. So 50 years from now, if you owned all the gold in the world and stopped, 50 years from now, you don't half of that, right? And 100 years from now, you're even further down the road. And so Bitcoin is math, and it's the beautiful in the sense that there is only 21 million ever. So showing someone that, having them ask, what does that mean? Then you get them to buy in, and then ultimately you can start talking to them and meeting them where they are and explaining that your dollars are leaking, your dollars are melting. There's only one way out, and that is through Bitcoin.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And it's one thing that we often get, it's infinity divided by 21 million, right? It's everything. just want to be sure for the purists out there. Yes, because it is all the value of the world divided by only 21 million Bitcoin, right? And that's what's cool. So it's so funny. There was a drone show in Hong Kong for the Bitcoin conference there, and they had actually 21 million divided by infinity. It's like, no.
Drones in New York. There was a big drone.
Yeah, for BitGo's IPO, they just did a big Bitcoin drone show.
Cool.
Bitcoin drone shows. There's a great way to orange pill people too. So my choice, I will go with meetups. You got to bring people to meetups. Bitcoin is a community. We are a group of people. We are like-minded individuals who see the world in a similar way, realize that there's a big problem, and have thankfully found a solution to our leaky monetary units, aka dollars. And that is Bitcoin meetups. You come together, you drink some beers, you have a good time, you learn more about Bitcoin, you realize that you're not the only crazy one out there. There are other people that see the world in the same way as you, and you by just being in person with others, it makes it tangible, it makes it real, and gives you hope for the future. That is my pick right there. And Hector, you run a Bitcoin meetup, so you know about this.
Yeah, it really helps when you find out that you're not the only crazy person that in Bitcoin. It's huge, being able to, whether it's celebrate in the good moments or commiserate when when things aren't going our way on a given day. It's fantastic to have some other like-minded folks. Back to the the old proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And Bitcoin is a patience test, and it's the ultimate marshmallow test. And so it's nice to have fellow travelers, so that when things are feeling a little difficult, you realize that that you're part of a community who's got their eyes on a bigger prize than the moment. So I think that's a terrific pick.
All right, Hector, it is you. You got to round out this competition.
I love it. All right. So we kind of started talking about tailoring, tailoring the solution to the individual and the circumstances. And I think Avi might have just referred to it. It's like you got to figure out the problem that you're solving. And there's a saying that says if you don't understand the problem, the solution doesn't matter, right? So this is a relatively new resource. Maybe it's about a year old. And so a guy named Bryan came out with a terrific story to help people understand what the problem is with our money. And we as human beings, we tell stories, we live stories, right? We remember stories. It's one of the most powerful mnemonics that we have for communicating information. And he put together a really nice, pretty short, about 25-minute video, which is called "What's the Problem?" And again, it tells a really nice story of a little society. I won't spoil the ending for those of you who haven't seen it, but it's a great, if you just sort of have to give, sort of one quick thing that maybe you can get somebody's interest for a short amount of time. Maybe they're not going to read the Bitcoin Standard or Broken Money or that sort of thing. Or maybe they don't understand everything they see on WTF Happened in 1971 right away, unless you explain it to them. But if they watch that video, even if they literally know zero about Bitcoin, they will, at the end of that video, understand that there is a problem, and they will probably relate to what that problem is because they'll see it reflected in their own lives. And that sometimes can be a nice entry point into a wider conversation. So I think Joe's "What's the Problem" video is a really, really good resource, especially for that very, very, very first touch.
Yeah. I believe it came out a year ago,
Yeah,
or a
give
year
or
and a half
take.
ago. Yeah. And Saylor helped promote it, really blew it up. He came
Yep.
out of nowhere. He's got an interesting background. He was in finance and I
Yep.
believe sports betting. Was that his background in some regard, I think? And
Yep.
he then realized that no, he's got to spread the word about Bitcoin. And so he self-funded this thing and created a really powerful animated series story that helped change the world and push more people into Bitcoin.
Brought up a good point though with that. It's like the education. We had B is for Bitcoin was our first interview ever. Is giving it to children's books, right? And one thing that Halston, who came on our show the other day, she's like, I was at USC, great school. I didn't learn anything about finance, right? Like the real markets. And I think that's the biggest issue is education, because our brains are so malleable when we're young and learning. And for us to learn, we never even learn about money. And I think that is where we really need to focus on is this next layer of like, how do we get this into school systems and teach people about money and teach them about Bitcoin and teach them that we can't print forever because those are the next guys graduating college and coming into the workforce. And so I just pulled it up like NYU. There's a few schools that are starting to teach about that, but getting professors in front of students, these young, excited minds, this is where it needs to happen. And you could say that for a lot of things, but, especially with Bitcoin and understanding what is money, I think it does start with the youth and that next generation will start to understand this a lot more.
Absolutely. And in that regard, Tuttle Twins. If you haven't watched the Tuttle Twins, I highly
100%.
recommend it. Very, very fun, even for adults. You'll have a good time. Well, yeah, I mean, that was quite the competition. I mean, if we take a look at these lists, you can't go wrong with really any of these to hand out to a newbie, try to get people on board. It is still up to us. Bitcoin has no marketing department. We have to spread the word, get new people on board and tell them that we are fixing a problem here. Bitcoin really solves one of the biggest issues in all of our lives. It's the fact that they print money at will, don't ask us about it, and steal our time and purchasing power through inflation. That's why we do this. Gentlemen, great competition, great Mount Rushmore. Hector, how you feeling? How was your first daily stack?
I loved it, man. That's why I wore my my stacking shirt, right? So I'm just waiting for the daily stack merch to show up. I'm assuming that it'll be delivered here on my doorstep anytime, but no, it's great. It back to your point about meetups, right? Being able to kick it around live with real people and you get to talk about things, agree on things, learn some different points of view, use the stay humble stack stats part a little bit and recognize, you don't have all the answers, your perspective isn't always right on point. And the more information you have, the better decisions you can make. And that often happens by interacting with other people. So I had a great time. I really appreciate y'all inviting me and I hope to be back again someday soon.
Absolutely. We'll get you back on. So yes, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you're still watching live, hit that like button, share this video. We got to make sure that more and more people find out about the Daily Stack. This has some really useful info in terms of orange pilling. If you are in the chat, throw in some pancake emojis. That is going to be the emoji of the show. Stack and sats, stack and pancakes, pancake stack. That is the emoji. Do it. Throw it in the chat. Love to see it. We're building stackers over here at the Daily Stack. Big shout out to Rhino, to Arch, everybody who helps make this show possible. This has been a very fun edition. Thank you, Hector, for joining in. And if you want to join and be part of the crew, go over to 21rates.com/stack, spin the wheel, win some free Bitcoin, join the community, earn some Bitcoin. We're doing this every single day, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. It has been an absolute pleasure. This is Rob Wallace and the boys, Hector and Avi. We are signing out until Monday. Everybody have